Hey guys, good morning. It is May 11th, 2022, and today we're in chapter 28, verse 10 through chapter 28, verse 15. There is a subtitle to this, and it is Jacob's Dream at Bethel, the Blessing Confirmed. So I'm going to start in verse 10. Meanwhile, Jacob left Beersheba and traveled towards Haran. At sundown, he arrived at a good place to set up camp and stopped there for the night. Jacob found a stone to rest his head against and lay down to sleep. As he slept, he dreamed of a stairway that reached from earth to heaven, and saw the angels of God going up and down the stairway. At the top of the stairway stood the Lord, and he said, "I am the Lord, the God of your grandfather Abraham, and the God of your father Isaac. The ground you are laying on belongs to you. I am giving it to you and your descendants. Your descendants will be as numerous as the dust of the earth, and they will spread out in all directions, to the west and the east, to the north and the south. And all the families of the earth will be blessed through you and your descendants. What's more, I am with you, and I will protect you wherever you go. One day I will bring you back to this land, and I will not leave you until I have finished giving you everything I have promised you." How awesome is that? Jacob has this dream, and I don't know about you, but I've had dreams and I've had visions of Jesus speaking to me. And Jacob has the same thing. And he sees the Lord, and the Lord confirms what he had said to Abraham. He confirms what he said to Isaac, and he confirms what he's saying to Jacob. He keeps using these terms over and over again. Your descendants. Your descendants will cover all nations. Your descendants will go out from east to west. Your descendants will be numerous. We are his descendants. Everyone you see is his descendants. And when we look at this, and when we read this text, God is telling us two things. He's saying, one, that he will always be with us. He will always be with Jacob. He says that. He says he will protect him. He will care for him. And he says the same thing to us. He will always be with us. He will always protect us. And he will not leave us until he is finished giving us everything he has promised. When I think about that, I think about the coming of Jesus. That is what is being promised, that Jesus is going to come back. And when he comes back, we will live in a world that there is no sorrow, there is no crying, there is no pain. And that is what God promises us. And this stairway between earth and heaven, and the angels coming down and going back up again, I believe is the protection that God is promising Jacob. Also, I see this as he is telling Jacob, look, your descendants are going to go away, but this is going to be your land and your descendants are going to own it. And if we think about it, Jacob ends up going to Egypt. His son ends up going to Egypt. But the Israelites come back. God does not hide things from us. Sometimes he doesn't tell us everything, but he doesn't hide things from us. And this book, this text, is the promise of God. And he tells us over and over again, look, there's going to be trials, but I am there with you. There's going to be enemies, but I am there with you. And this is what he's saying to Jacob. Your family is going to be numerous. Your descendants are going to be numerous. He told Abraham's descendants were going to be as numerous as the stars in the sky. He told Isaac his descendants are going to be as numerous as the sand on a beach. He told Jacob as numerous as the dust of the earth. He keeps reminding us. He keeps telling us that all nations are his. All nations belong to God through Abraham. And we see that. We see that in the beginning with Abraham and Sarah, where Sarah was barren and there was no way physically on earth that she could have a baby. But God stepped in and kept the promise, and they had Isaac. And then Isaac had twins, Esau and Jacob. And now Jacob's going to have children. And their children are going to have children. And their children are going to have children. And Abraham doesn't see the ending of the blessing. Abraham's already dead. Isaac is very old, if not dead now. But he sees the progression. Abraham sees the progression. Abraham saw his son, saw his grandsons, probably. And Isaac probably saw his sons and maybe saw his grandsons. And Jacob, the same thing, saw his sons, maybe his grandchildren. And over again, and we get to the 2022 where hopefully our grandparents and our parents are alive, but maybe they didn't see, but we see. I see my children, and hopefully, God willing, I see my grandchildren. And maybe even my great-grandmother was alive to see me. And maybe I'll be alive to see my great-grandchildren. My grandfather is alive to see his great-grandchildren. My grandmother, before she passed away, actually got to see a few of her great-grandchildren. And we see this over and over again. This is God's promise. And even now, in 2022, God is with us. God is protecting us. And God is standing with us. God is going before us. God is fighting the battle for us. We're not. And we need to give it to God. And this is showing that God is keeping his promise. He keeps his promise over and over and over again. He's faithful to us. Even when we're not faithful back, he is faithful. So where is it that you can put trust in God? Where is it that you can see the promise he made to Jacob? The promise he made to Abraham? The promise he made to Noah? The promise he made over and over again? Where can you see that? And where can you see that today in your life? Because it's easy to read it and see Jacob's story unfold. Abraham's story. We already read Abraham's story. We watched it moment by moment by moment by moment. But we don't get that same thing with us. We don't get to watch our lives moment by moment by moment and know the ending. We're living it in real time, and we got to remember these people are living it in real time. And yes, we can flip the page, but they couldn't, just like we can't. But they put their trust in God. They're not perfect by any means. They're not. And God doesn't expect us to be perfect, but he expects us to learn to trust in him. So here's my question. Where can you see that today? And where can you work on it with God to say, I'm struggling with this. Help me, please. And know in your heart of hearts that he will help you. I hope today you see Jesus in all you do. And I hope today you see God's promise all around you. And I hope you have a wonderful day.